Question 1. In cloud networking, what is the primary purpose of dividing a virtual private cloud (VPC) into multiple subnets? Option A. To allow direct internet access for all resources by default. Option B. To increase the overall IP address range of the VPC. Option C. To logically segment the network, allowing for granular control over traffic flow, enhanced security, and improved resource management. Option D. To automatically assign public IP addresses to all deployed instances. The correct answer is to logically segment the network, allowing for granular control over traffic flow, enhanced security, and improved resource management. Here's the explanation. Subnets are used to logically divide a larger VPC network into smaller segments. This segmentation enables better organization, allows for distinct security policies and routing rules for different application tiers or environments, and facilitates efficient IP address allocation and resource isolation. Question 2. Which statement accurately describes the relationship between subnets and availability zones, AZs, in most cloud environments? Option A. A single subnet can span multiple availability zones to maximize availability. Option B. Subnets are typically specific to a single availability zone, aiding in fault-tolerant architecture design. Option C. Availability zones are optional for subnet configuration and only used in specific regions. Option D. Subnets are independent of availability zones and can be placed anywhere within a region. The correct answer is subnets are typically specific to a single availability zone, aiding in fault-tolerant architecture design. Here's the explanation. In most cloud environments, subnets are always tied to a single availability zone. To achieve high availability and fault tolerance across AZs, you must create separate subnets in each desired AZ and distribute your resources across them. Question 3. What is the key characteristic that differentiates a public subnet from a private subnet in a cloud VPC? Option A. Public subnets use IPv6 addresses, while private subnets use IPv4. Option B. Public subnets have a Network Access Control List (NACL) associated, while private subnets do not. Option C. A public subnet's associated route table contains a route to an Internet Gateway (IGW), allowing direct Internet access, whereas a private subnet does not. Option D. Private subnets are always encrypted, while public subnets are not. The correct answer is a public subnet's associated route table contains a route to an Internet Gateway (IGW), allowing direct Internet access, whereas a private subnet does not. Here's the explanation. The designation of a subnet as public or private is determined by its associated route table. A public subnet has a route to an Internet Gateway (IGW) for outbound Internet traffic, and can receive unsolicited inbound traffic if allowed by security groups/NACLs, while a private subnet does not have a direct route to an IGW. Private subnets needing outbound Internet access typically use a NAT gateway. Question 4. Which statement accurately describes the IP address reservation within an Azure subnet configured with a 24 CIDR block? Option A. All 256 IP addresses are available for resource assignment. Option B. The first two and the last two IP addresses are reserved by Azure. Option C. Azure reserves the first four and the last IP address in every subnet. Option D. Only the network address and broadcast address are reserved, leaving 254 usable IPs. The correct answer is Azure reserves the first four and the last IP address in every subnet. Here's the explanation. Azure automatically reserves the first four and the last IP address in every subnet for internal use. Network address, default gateway, DNS, broadcast address. This means a 24 subnet, 256 IPs, provides 251 usable IP addresses. Question 5. A company needs to host a public-facing application in Azure that requires a consistent, publicly accessible IP address and support for availability zones for resiliency. Which public IP SKU and allocation method should they choose? Option A, basic SKU, dynamic allocation. Option B, basic SKU, static allocation. Option C, standard SKU, dynamic allocation. Option D, standard SKU, static allocation. The correct answer is standard SKU, static allocation. Here's the explanation. Standard SKU public IPs are always static, provide availability zone support for resiliency, and are recommended for production workloads. Basic SKU public IPs do not support availability zones. Standard SKU public IPs are by definition always static, so option C is incorrect. Question 6. An Azure Virtual Machine, VM, has only a private IP address and needs to initiate outbound connections to the Internet. Which mechanism does Azure implicitly use by default to facilitate this communication? Option A, Azure Firewall. Option B, Network Address Translation, NAT, Gateway. Option C, Source Network Address Translation, SNAT. Option D, Virtual Network, VNet, Peering. The correct answer is Source Network Address Translation, SNAT. Here's the explanation. Azure implicitly performs Source NAT, SNAT, for outbound connections from private IPs to the Internet if a public IP is not explicitly assigned to the resource, or a NAT gateway is not used. Azure Firewall and NAT Gateway are explicit services for outbound connectivity, while VNet Peering is for VNet to VNet communication. Question 7. What is the fundamental characteristic that differentiates a public IP address from a private IP address in a cloud environment? Option A, public IPs are free, while private IPs are always chargeable. Option B, public IPs are used for internal network communication, while private IPs are for external. Option C, public IPs are globally unique and routable on the Internet, whereas private IPs are not. Option D, public IPs are exclusively for IPv6, and private IPs are exclusively for IPv4. The correct answer is public IPs are globally unique and routable on the Internet, whereas private IPs are not. Here's the explanation. Public IP addresses are globally unique and directly accessible across the Internet, making them routable worldwide. Private IP addresses are used only within private networks and are not routable on the Internet. Question 8. A company requires a consistent, unchanging Internet presence for its primary web application hosted on a cloud virtual machine, even if the VM is stopped and restarted. Which type of public IP address should be used? Option A, dynamic public IP. Option B, private IP address. Option C, static public IP, e.g., elastic IP, reserved IP. Option D, internal load balancer IP. The correct answer is static public IP, e.g., elastic IP, reserved IP. Here's the explanation. Static public IPs, also known as elastic IPs in AWS or reserved IPs in Azure, are persistent and remain assigned to an account until explicitly released, ensuring a consistent Internet presence for services. Dynamic IPs can change upon restart. Question 9. A virtual machine, VM, in a private subnet needs to download software updates from the Internet but should not be directly accessible from the Internet. Which networking component, leveraging a public IP, is typically used to enable this outbound Internet access? Option A, Internet Gateway. Option B, Virtual Private Gateway. Option C, Network Access Control List, NACL. Option D, NAT Gateway. The correct answer is NAT gateway. Here's the explanation. A NAT gateway, equipped with a public IP address, allows resources in private subnets to initiate outbound connections to the Internet, while preventing direct inbound connections from the Internet. An Internet gateway enables both inbound and outbound access for resources in a public subnet. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.